learned today is not to follow Sam. Next time I'm going to go before him. He doesn't like that. I have a bunch of papers here, so I'm going to try to put some of these down. I think the two things from Sam's discussion that I want to just re-emphasize is the idea of manipulation. And that is the heart of gerrymandering. And it is to take districts and make them unnaturally lean toward one party or another. I grew up in rural Ohio. Those up in northwest Ohio, there's areas there. Those districts are going to be Republican districts. It's just the way it is. But that's the way that people are naturally living together there. And that's fine. A Republican is going to best represent that area of rural Ohio. Their fight there is which Republican is going to represent them. So they have a contested primary. Great. That works. There's areas of metropolitan areas in Ohio that are very Democratic. It would be unnatural to draw something other than a Democratic district. That's great. Those districts should be Democratic districts. And they will be well represented by that. They will be well represented by a Democrat. But a goodly part of Ohio is very mixed. A goodly part of Ohio is the battleground that we are told we are by the national TV folks. And we'll find out this fall that we're the battleground again because all the candidates are going to be coming here because Ohio is very much a 50-50 state. It's just that our districts don't look like that. Right now, because the Republicans drew these districts and the Democrats are just as capable, we are pretty much guaranteed a Republican delegation to Congress. 50-50 state, we now have 16 seats in Congress. You'd think they'd split 8-8. Maybe we're slightly Republican leaning in Ohio, maybe 7-9. That would be kind of a natural way of Ohio being represented. We're pretty much guaranteed that it's going to be 12-4. So our 51% state, our 51% Republican state is going to be represented by 75%. 75% of our delegation is going to be Republican. Okay, you say, well, we haven't had the election yet. Well, you know, we had an important election, and that was the primary. Because of the way that congressional districts are drawn, I'll spend some money today on anybody who wants to bet on the outcome of the congressional district, the congressional races this fall, because they are pretty much predetermined. I think in Hamilton, you have 2 congressional districts. They're a little odd-shaped, but then aren't they all? The one takes the west side of Hamilton County, takes some odd little portions of the northeast, and then combines it with Warren County. And I'm sure, and you can't see it here, but I'm sure I'm not quite sure what the commonality of interest there is. And then the east side of Hamilton is connected with Claremont, Brown, Adams, Highland, Pike, Sayette, or Ross. Once again, I'm wondering what kind of the heart of Cincinnati has to do with, say, Ross County, which is Chillicothe. In fact, the other half of Ross County is almost in my district, but not quite. I would have been in my district had I not been shifted to a different one. That one is Steve Cyber's district that Sam talked about, and that's one of the ones that are near and dear to our hearts in Columbus, because you kind of take Ohio State University in Upper Arlington, for anybody who's familiar with Columbus, you kind of shift that around and you put OU in that district. We picked up Athens, and then we came way back over here and we picked up Clinton County, which is not that far from Cincinnati, and actually is next to both districts 1 and 2, which are the 2 Cincinnati districts. So this map is just pretty much some sort of Rorschach test in art, because it really doesn't make any sense at all, other than if you look at the political composition of the districts. And that's where you can give me a district number, and I have their political compositions here, and I can tell you who's going to win in the fall. And that's really, I think that's a really sad commentary on our democracy. that by the time we come to vote in November, our votes are of negligible value. They were of some value in some very contested primaries. Our one in the 3rd district was contested. Your primary down here, in fact, there was an upset in the Republican primary down here with the current Schmidt district. So it becomes essentially, and particularly in the House and the Senate, and actually with Congress also, you get your pick of the endorsed Democrat and the unendorsed Democrat in the primary, or you get your pick of the endorsed Republican or the unendorsed Republican in the primary. 90-something% of the time, the endorsed candidate is going to win. So the political parties have, in fact, chosen who your representatives are going to be. It really so devalues our vote. And that's why I think there's a number of different ways of changing our system. There have been some bills over the last 6 years that Sam and I meet a lot in the halls of the legislature before we testify on these bills. And we try to pick them apart and say these are the good things and these are the things that really are not in the voters' interests. We've had a couple of them. One, Secretary of State Houston, then Senator Houston, before that Speaker Houston, has been advocating one in which you take the current apportionment board, which swings Democrat or Republican depending on who we elect for our statewide officials, and make it so that you would have to have a Democratic and a Republican buy-in. Okay, that's, like Sam said, that's bipartisan, doesn't necessarily get you where you want to go. We are looking at something that is going to really look at competitive districts as being a public good, something that helps the public. And that's probably the biggest one where our proposal and most good government proposals differ from what the legislature wants to do for us. They don't really like those competitive districts. They really like to pick a candidate for the primary and kind of ram them right through November and into the elective office. We'd like a little bit more choice. Choice comes with competitive districts, some sort of a race in the fall. And that's also going to force the candidates in the fall in a competitive district to have to appeal to both sides of the aisle, appeal a lot to the independent voter. And I think that's where we really want to get. Back to my childhood, when we had conservative Democrats and liberal Republicans, and those the parties could kind of cross over, they could talk. We've kind of lost that, and I think a piece of that certainly is these strange-looking districts. So competitiveness is one, I think, good government value. I do think we want our districts to be somewhat compact. And that would be a value that we are missing in our congressional maps. Now, I'll leave these out on the table if you want to look at these. And even when you look at Franklin, I'm so used to Franklin. Even when you look at Hamilton County's maps, your Senate maps not particularly compact, even though the Ohio Constitution says they must be compact. Although there is a court case about that right now. Here's another one. You can probably tell the pink one down there. Not particularly compact. That would be the 31st. I think that's kind of the new district in Cincinnati because of our population shifts. And in order to pack enough Democrats into 31 to get a 69% Democratic index, 69% of the voters in that district are Democrats. Guess who's going to win in the fall? Anybody put 50-50 odds on the Republicans? Probably not. But in order to draw a district with that concentration of Democrats, that's what needed to happen. So we would like compactness, and sometimes compactness is going to give you a Democratic district or a Republican district. But that's because people have chosen to live together in those patterns, as opposed to being manipulated into a Democratic or a Republican district. Let's see. Our idea is, rather than the politicians drawing the maps, which is what we have right now, either the General Assembly for the Congressional District or state elected representatives for the General Assembly. We want an independent citizens commission. Now that doesn't mean that people who don't care about districts are going to be on this commission. You're going to have to apply. You're going to have to show why you would be a good member of the commission, why you can work well with other people who are not necessarily of your persuasion, and come up with something that's fair. And those are the kind of things that we're going to select people on. We've deliberately said, if you're a lobbyist, no. If you're an elected official, no. If you work for the party for money, no. You can't be on the commission. Citizens, voters of Ohio can be on the commission.